Did you watch the Jared Anderson fight this weekend?
I did.
And when did you wake up?
I'm still sleeping. No. I put, Jared had something to do with this too. Nobody talks about him. They think it was all the other guy, and it was mostly the other guy.
Yeah.
But Jared wasn't taking chances.
No. It was really bad. Now, Timothy Bradley said something in the fight, and usually doesn't say much good things, but he said something that really caught my ear. Right? And it was basically, he said that the UFC has a rule in the UFC that if a fighter is not engaging, he will get deducted.
I heard that. Yeah.
Right? Now, I haven't heard anybody talk about that, and it kind of stuck to me. I'm like, why isn't it that boxing isn't having these yearly meetings? Like the NFL every year has meetings
Because
to try
it's not a corporate. There's not one governing body that rules it.
And that's a problem. But this is why we're losing fans. If you're a casual fan and you watch Jared Anderson versus I don't even know the guy's name, you're never gonna watch boxing again. It was absolute dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's always boxing's always been this way. And yeah, maybe the Saudis will create something that people maybe there's more rules that are actually enforced and followed.
Do you think that they can create a rule where it's if you're not engaging, you'll be deducted points? In fact, if you keep getting deducted, you'll just disqualify you because you're not willing to engage. Because a lot of these fights, guys are.
Here's the way it works, though, man. Here's the way it works.
I'm listening.
Every single state has its own athletic commission, which determines the only legality, the only legal thing binding in any boxing match, professional boxing match, is whatever the state athletic commission puts forward that's sanctioning it. There's Associated Boxing Commission of Boxing's ABC. They have a bunch of suggested ways to judge fights and suggested things, but nothing is legal. The only thing legal that needs to be followed is the New York State Athletic Commission. They don't even enforce half of their shit. So they not really, they can be bought off like, they don't. So, and I've been, I fought and I've been to the New York State Athletic Commission. Granted, it was 24 years ago, but I was there.
Yeah.
You're from here. You know what it's like. You know what city employees are like in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Do they give a fuck about anything?
No, I've been to get my driver's license. Absolute shit. Yeah.
And I'm sure you've been to other. Right. So it's a building full of city employees who are underpaid, who don't really care, don't know boxing because it's an athletic state. It's a state athletic commission. They govern wrestling, boxing, a few other things. They don't know boxing specifically. They don't care. And it was one guy who ran it, and it was like his secretary, so to speak, his administrative assistant. That's it. That was it then. So I can't imagine. I can't imagine. It's much more. They might add a couple. I remember there's one or two other people in the office, but the point was, it was a very small. I went in there. I'm like, oh, this is it. It was a small operation. It was in one of those buildings all the way downtown, in the financial district. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was. So nobody has rules. There's no rules in boxing. There's no judging that says judges need to do this.
So there's no criteria.
There is no criteria. There is a suggested criteria by the ABC Commission.
Shit.
But there's no criteria handed. Referees might go and get and I'm not even sure they do this, but I think they do. They get certified to become referees.
Okay.
But there's nobody that watches them and says, wait a second, this guy's glove touched the ground. That should be a 10-8 round. You missed it. Well, I missed it. Okay, fine. You missed it. Judging. Nobody goes to the judges and say, hey, you got to judge this based on how many punches. There's no criteria for judging. There's nowhere that says, there's basic criteria, but nobody enforces it. There's nobody that'll go to a judge and be like, yo, this person didn't land one punch in the round. The other person landed 50, and you gave it to the person who didn't land one punch. You can't do that.
So they can't even be challenged.
But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's illegal. Another one just happened that's literally illegal. Oh, here we go. When Ryan fought Tank and Tank dropped Ryan the first time he dropped him before he knocked him out. Mm-hmm. One judge had that a 10-10 round. That is literally illegal.
No
10-8
way.
mandatory. The word mandatory means you have to do it.
No
And
way.
nobody came to that judge and said, no, this needs to be, at very least, they should have officially changed that round to be a 10-8. At very least. Now, there's parts where you can argue to have a 10-9 round if the person who gets dropped comes back and kicks
And
the fuck out of
fights.
the guy.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. So this is what I'm saying to you. Nothing's enforced. You have suggested rules, but there's nobody enforcing it. And there's also no Bible, no constitution saying this is what needs to be done. It's whatever that state does.
That is absolutely mind blowing, and this is why. I just watched the fight. I forgot it was last week. It was a good fight. Somebody got robbed. Oh, Lemos, whatever his name is. And there was a judge that had it like 117 to, and I'm like, dude, like it was a really close fight. And so you're telling me there's nobody to hold their feet to the fire? Like these judges.
I have heard. I got into this with I do the boxing voice. You know, you watch the boxing voice?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I got in this with Ness, and Ness was saying, well, I've heard of a couple judges who were either investigated or banned, or he said something like that. And I don't know about that, so I couldn't challenge him. But I do know that if that happened, and I believe him, I don't think he's lying, it's very rare.
I mean,
it's very rare.
I see Dave Moretti, and I see the same guys pretty much all the time. Like,
you know, it's very rare, and it sure as hell isn't most of the time. Even if it's half the time, that's not enough. No, it has to be all the time, or at bare minimum most of the time.
Listen, there's so many bad decisions, right? Like, and I'm talking about some scores that don't make any sense. That it makes sense what you're saying, that nobody's getting. There's no, like, it almost feels like it's the 1920s, 1930s, and we're at prohibition where you could buy people off. Like, this is crazy.
You watch NBA, right? You watch basketball? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's like if somebody hits a three, but his foot is clearly on the line.
No replay.
The ref goes, nope, that's a three, and nobody says anything.
There's no instant replay in boxing. We can't challenge stuff if the guy.
I think there might be, but so the instant replay might, but it's like the refereeing is a little more cut and dry. There's more rules defined for reffing, but for judging.
Okay, I got you.
Because the reffing is a little more at their discretion, and I think there are rules more defined. Still, though, the only person who can enforce that is that state athletic commission. And if they decide that they don't want to use the resources or the time to challenge something, it's not going to be challenged. But the judging, that's the main one. You know, reffing too, though. We've seen a lot of the guy who stopped Barroso versus Rolly. Mm-hmm. But then you start going into the realm of discretion. Well, I thought he was. You can't argue when somebody says, I thought this. You're like, well, you were crazy. But
the crazy thing is that opens the door for corruption, for even alleged corruption. And like, there's so many fights that I'm watching, and it's insane when you're even hearing the commentators saying that, oh, this decision is going to get stolen. Like, they know it's going to, like, it's crazy to me. I've seen fights where I'm just like, and the Lemos fight, who did he fight? It was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, Lemos. Yeah, he fought Richardson Hitchens.
Oh, Richardson Hitchens. Like, the scores were so crazy. Like, I was just like, bro, like, there is no way that but it was crazy because you will listen to the commentators and they're saying it literally openly that he's about to get robbed.
Yeah.
That is mind.
Look, that fight to me was close.
No, it was close.
I think Hitchens did lose, but it was close. To me, that's not the issues. To me, the issues are things like the Rolly fight or things like the judging in that fight.
One of the judges had it 118, 112.
Sure.
That's insane.
I mean, judges had Pernell Whitaker losing to Chavez, one of them, and the other one had it a draw. What? You know what I'm saying? So, and by the way, CompuBox. Do you know what CompuBox is?
I'm listening. Tell me, please explain.
You know what it is?
It's supposed to be an output of punches, of jabs.
Do you know how do you know how this is recorded, measured?
Oh my God! Please tell me. I need to know this. How?
Marko. You ever go into a club and the guy goes, "Go in," There is one person, maybe has to be one. I think it's just one, but it's somebody sitting there in real time going, that landed. I think that landed. That didn't. That's what it is. They don't stop. They don't rewind. They don't zoom. They don't slow motion it in case they're at a bad. We all know that in boxing, if you don't zoom in or change the angle, you're not seeing if a punch landed or not. You just don't see it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what CompuBox is.
But
So then
CompuBox
you go
isn't used
into
for
the
judging.
judging, and the judging is like, well, it's how many punches landed, how many didn't land. Then you go into, yeah, but CompuBox said this. How many times have we seen a fight where CompuBox says somebody landed and we're like, no, we didn't?
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So these are all these issues compiled.
So I mean, so the NFL is the shield. There's one NFL, right? They have owners that for different teams that come in and make the rules. Why can't these promotional companies or all these commissions come together and establish one universal set of rules? It doesn't make sense, and it corrupts the sport. You're losing money because people don't believe in boxing anymore.
Because everybody, if it changes from the way it is now, people are going to have to start splitting money more ways. So Golden Boy, instead of having a whole fight on their own, or maybe splitting it with one other person with Top Rank, now they're going to have to split it 20 ways because you're going to have to incorporate all these motherfuckers out there who have all these different promotion company.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that. And they have less control. And the problem is they're accustomed to control. There is no way you're going to get everybody to go all in. What you're going to do, possibly, is get somebody like Turkey Al Sheikh to put together stuff and have enough money to shut the fuck up all these other people and promoters and diva fighters who want so much money. But
I mean,
mark my word, it's not going to live long. This Turkey Al Sheikh thing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, right? I was talking to this guy. His name was Carlos. He's in Atlanta, and he was telling me even to become a professional fighter, all you need is to fill out this paperwork and do a physical, and you become a pro fighter.
It depends what state you're in. When I turned pro, now again, 6 years ago, they had to know you. You had to have either amateur experience or they had to know who you were. And in New York, people who were I knew the head of the New York State Athletic Commission actually had trained me. So they have to know you back then. Each state is different. That's a problem. It's all about the state you're licensed in. But once you're licensed in one state, you could most likely fight in every state. It's almost like a driver's license. It's valid everywhere. So New York wasn't like that, but it might be now. But yes, I would not be surprised. I know for a fact other states, anybody could fight. Anybody. So saying you're a pro.
I went to a fight, and everybody thinks when they hear fights, it's like Devin Haney, Garcia. Most of the fights that are put together are not like that. It's a lot of whatever. And I seen guys that were boxing. I'm like, there's no way he's a pro. Like, how did he just get a license? And it literally was like blood sport, just guys getting destroyed. And I'm like, bro, somebody's gonna throw in the towel. This kid's gonna die in here. And it made me feel like, where's the regulation? And you're telling me there's no regulation for judges. There's no criteria. There's no way. I mean, I heard you could challenge decisions. I believe that's BS.
I've never heard of one decision that has been overturned for anything besides positive drug or steroid test. Never. Maybe it's happened, but if it's a fraction of a percent, if it's happened of all the fights that have ever took place.
I mean, it's very, and even the belt sanctioning stuff, that really irritates me. And not to shit on Edgar Berlanga, right? No disrespect to that man. But he just came off of a year suspension for biting someone.
That motherfucker.
Oh my God. Beats some Irish guy, I don't know who the fuck he is, right? And becomes the #1 contender for the WBA. And it was just like, how is that even possible?
And Ngannou became ranked top 10 after having one pro fight.
I mean, how is this possible? It points all to money. It's all money. And I don't know, man. It's embarrassing. It's somebody's going to get hurt behind this type of stuff. And it takes away from how beautiful the sport can actually be. And I think this is why a lot of people favor UFC. Because it seems like it's more, okay, #1 fights #2.
The sport is a money loser now.
What sport? Boxing?
Yeah, because the gates the gates are very erratic. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Streaming has destroyed the pay-per-view buys,
Yeah.
and it used to be where pay-per-view was good, but being featured on HBO was just as dope and considered just as
Yeah.
prestigious. Those networks all folded.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because these fighters want way too much money.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough people show up. Not enough people. The networks aren't paying anymore because nobody's watching enough.
Yeah.
And the pay-per-view is really the only way they can live. But that is being grossly affected by streaming, by Fire Sticks. So
See, I got an answer to that. And Showtime and HBO, they focused on the pay-per-view buy and stuff like that. The difference with the streaming stuff now, like Amazon doesn't really care about the pay-per-view stuff because they get paid based off of a digital imprint. So regardless, as long as people tune in, they get advertisers off of that. So I kind of like that, and I feel like boxers should get paid more because of that. So I get what you're saying, but the times are changing, and you're right. I mean, it's a bad. If you're a professional boxer, it's you got to really like. It's tough, man. I mean, if you're able to make it to a certain level, to be honest with you, God bless you, because it's like all the odds are against these guys at this point. Like,
yep.
you know, bro, you show up to a fight, and if this guy's getting promoted by Oscar De La Hoya, he's already starting with like a 21-point lead. Like, it's crazy.
Yep.
Like, this guy, we're putting money behind this guy. Now you're telling me there's no criteria for the judges. You can't even challenge the judges. Who is there to hold the feet to the fire to them? Even if this guy wins, we got money in this guy. We need this guy to win. Now it's more believable to me that this shit is all rigged because this guy's more priority than this schmuck who lives in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and he has, you know what I'm saying? He's not signed to anyone. I mean,
Yep.
it's a little disheartening, man, because I defend the sport all the time and I love it, but at its structure, it is a shit show right now.
Mm-hmm.
I love talking to you, Marco. I think you're fucking awesome, bro. You need your own goddamn show. I'll tell you that right
Appreciate you. Thank you.
now. I mean, listen, I'm a fan. I've been following, but you know some of the intricacies because you know the sport. You boxed, you know certain things in the sport, and I appreciate it because I don't know it. So I've been a fan for years, and I really appreciate that. I did not know that because to find out that the judging now it makes sense when they're gonna steal the decision, and you're sitting there like, what do you mean they're gonna steal the decision? This guy's
there's no official structure, and there's no way for anybody to be held culpable. There is zero recourse of anything that happens. It's just it's Lord of the Flies. It's every man for it's martial law. It's every man for himself. And sometimes there's justice, but there's no police. It's like living somewhere where there's no cops, or living somewhere where the cops walk around every now and then, and they might slap you on the wrist every now and then or whatever. But for the most part, they're not. They're all on break. There's one cop in the whole town, and he's usually on break. It's like that kind of thing.
One more thing before I let you go. I'm sorry, I know you got your but I interviewed Richard Steele, and this stuck out to me a lot.
You interviewed him?
Yeah, I interviewed. This was about a year and a half ago. Oh, and shout out to Richard Steele. He was awesome.
You didn't ask him about Chavez because damn.
No, he told me. It's funny. He told me specifically not to ask that question because everybody asked. Really? I swear to God, before the interview.
I believe that.
He did say something that was interesting, and we were talking about fighters dying in the ring, right? And he said something along the lines of, a lot of these guys are sparring and they're getting injured at sparring, and there's nobody really to report these injuries. So some of these guys are already showing up with head trauma to these fights, and now you're fighting a professional fight, no headgear or nothing, and they're pretty much injured. It's like having a broken leg and showing up to a race. Your head is messed up, and you had a concussion a couple of days ago, and you're boxing. And he was telling me this is how some of these guys are dying, and there's no one to actually regulate that. How is that actually possible in the sport that we've lost probably in the last 10 years over 20 fighters?
Man,
No answer for that, huh?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
dude, that's pretty disgusting, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, because, and this is coming from a Hall of Fame, and I couldn't believe it. I thought doctors are supposed to check you weeks before your trainers, because he was saying that your trainers are supposed to report this stuff and they're supposed to take care of your fighter, but these guys aren't getting paid a lot, so they're just like, yo, I need this check. Yo, let's put this guy in there, regardless he had a concussion 3-4 days ago. I mean,
Exactly.
boxing. I mean, I pray for these guys. I hope there's something that some type of organization that can get together and fix the sport, because this is a great sport, man. And it's just sad that there's too many deficiencies in such a legendary sport.
Hell yeah, that's a fact.
Well, Marco, man, I love talking to you. I want to let you
Yeah,
go.
man.
You are the
Anytime.
most handsome. You are the most handsome commentator in the game. All right, I'm going to tell you that right now. I love.
How much do I owe you for that?
No. Hey, listen, when I go to the comedy clubs, let me know. Give me a drink.
Gotcha.
But I definitely rock with you, man. We're gonna be in contact again. Let's make it happen, brother. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All right, bro.
Peace.
That was my guy Marco. The guy's awesome. He's like a fucking encyclopedia for boxing. Man, listen, boxing has so many different things that just don't make sense, man. And I love the sport of boxing, but when you start peeling the layers back, you start seeing the things that are wrong with boxing. And to be honest with you, it's very sad, because it's such a great sport. So many great things have come out of the sport. So many great people. So many great moments. So many legendary moments. And guys, how do we make this better? How do we make it to where these boxers? Listen, I know a lot of boxers don't even have money. They're working 9 to 5 to doing all this stuff, and they're not even getting proper treatment. A boxer once told me, this is a fact, that their own insurance was better than the insurance that the boxing commissions were actually having for them. That is absolutely insane. These guys are literally putting their lives on the line, and they are getting shit in return, because most of them don't get paid anything. There's maybe a 3% clip of guys that are getting paid a lot. And that's why I don't blame guys like Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney and the Floyd Mayweathers for not wanting to fight, because you're risking your life on the line for people that aren't even here to protect you. And I think that, my man, is absolutely insane. So on that note, it's your boy Norm. This is the 10A podcast. We try to get deep as possible. I love you. Please tune in. Make sure you hit the notification button, subscribe, and share the link. Hit the like button. It don't hurt. It's free. I'm not charging you. Hit the like button. Let's get us in the algorithm. Let's take over. Trying to be the #1 show. It's your boy. And somebody called me right when I had to do this. Ah, geez.